Of all the Submariners out there, this is my favorite one. This is not a Submariner, instead this is the 42mm Yacht-Master, arguably one of the best looking luxury sports watches in Rolex's catalog today. Now, sports watch, not a diver's watch. Now, before we continue, let's go over the essentials in the next minute. The 42mm Oyster case follows the Oyster architecture. A monoblock middle case, screw-down case back and triplock screw-down crown. Overall water resistance of the Yacht-Master is 100 meters. It features a black lacquered dial with white gold hands and large indices. Thanks to the larger indices on this dial, the Chromalight lume burns mighty bright at night. The standout feature of this watch is perhaps that matte black Cerachrom insert on the white gold bezel. The numbers are raised and polished, so making them stand out against the matte backdrop. Beating inside is the superlative chronometer caliber 3235. This caliber has all the modern bells and whistles you have come to expect from Rolex. Another big standout feature of this watch is, of course, the Oysterflex bracelet, and more on that in a minute. How good does this look? So let's perhaps start with the Oysterflex bracelet. Do call it a bracelet, do not call it a strap. Rolex insists. Now, if you like over-engineered and well-designed straps, I mean bracelets, then this is for you. I generally cannot think of any other brand that has such an ingenious design for their rubber, I mean elastomer, strap, I mean bracelet. The core of the bracelet is a flexible titanium and nickel alloy metal blade according to Rolex, so the black elastomer or the rubber is then essentially molded on top of that. Then for additional comfort, Rolex added this simple yet effective cushion system near the case, or rather near the lugs, which not only helps stabilize the gold watch but also helps with airflow under the strap for an extra comfortable wrist experience. Other than being very well engineered and built to last, I also think this bracelet looks great in combination with the face of this watch. Now look at that face. Big standout is of course the matte black bezel. Such a stunner. The matte black ceramic insert has the numbers not engraved like you would see on a Submariner, for example, but rather these are raised, which is of course that distinct look of the Yacht-Master. Now Rolex also polished these then, so you have that great contrasting look between the matte base of the insert and the polished elements. The bezel, white gold of course, is a bi-directional rotating bezel. Moving to the dial itself then, so the indices here stand out due to, in my opinion, two reasons. So one, they are slightly larger than what we are used to see at Rolex, but also due to that black bezel and then that black dial, so these indices really get a chance to shine here. This is easily the most fantastic Yacht-Master made to date, if you ask me. Now on the wrist then. So gold watches on rubber straps tend to move around quite a bit on the wrist due to that weight on top of the wrist. Now here you immediately see why Rolex is Rolex. So this watch sits super nice on the wrist and is going nowhere. Thanks to the sculpted ridges on the underside of the bracelet and in combination with the Oyster clasp, this wears like a dream. So Rolex got a lot of negative feedback from the community when they first released this rubber bracelet, but this is really excellent and I generally like how it matches so well with that sporty matte black bezel and just the overall vibe of this watch. Overall, I find this a very, very clean and fresh looking watch on the wrist. Now, as far as Rolex goes, this Yacht-Master is actually quite understated. So with the stealthy bezel and the casual looking bracelet, also white gold instead of yellow or rose gold completes that overall relaxed look of this watch. It's easy to see why people who like this watch really like this watch. So one word of caution before we go is that while the 42mm diameter is absolutely nothing crazy, keep in mind that the lug to lug here is 50mm. That's on the larger end for the smaller wrists among us. In addition, the Oysterflex bracelet does not actually bend down immediately as would, for example, a bracelet or a leather strap. So that also further increases the size of the watch here on the wrist. So this watch is undeniably gorgeous, but due to its size, it is, in my opinion, not for everyone. I think that any wrist above, say 17 centimeters or so, can rest on both ears, no problem. But smaller wrists may want to try these on first. I'm not saying it won't work, but you might want to give it a try first to see if it works for you. So that's it, Yacht-Master. How do you like it? Let us know in the comments.